A proposed resolution which was sent to me today by our attorney, pass that down, Tom Mooney, to make sure that the appointment of Dr. Adamowski comports with any requirements of state law. So I just handed that out to board members. So the chair would, I'll explain this once the motion is made and then discussion can commence, but the chair would entertain a motion to approve the resolution just handed out, which states moved in accordance with the Connecticut General Statute, Section 10-157B. The Board of Education hereby elects Dr. Stephen J. Adamowski to serve as acting superintendent effective July 15, 2015, and then upon completion of certification requirements as superintendent for a term of approximately 3 years from July 15, 2015 through June 30, 2018. Further move that the chairperson is authorized to execute the related contract of employment between the board and Dr. Adamowski on behalf of the board. Is there a motion to that effect?
Sure.
Mr. Kasimis moves. Second, Ms. Keys. Let me start by explaining the purpose for this motion. As many of you know, we've received about 387,000 emails in the last 2 days from a guy named John Pelto with various concerns that he's expressed about Dr. Adamowski. One of them was his expressed concern that Dr. Adamowski does not have the appropriate certification to serve as a superintendent of schools. Now, Dr. Adamowski received a waiver from the Commissioner of Education in 2007, which is unlimited in its application as to either school districts or time. And based on that letter, both Dr. Adamowski and PROACT felt that he was duly qualified to serve as a superintendent. So do I, and so does Tom Mooney. However, Dr. Adamowski informed me and Mr. Mooney that he had talked to the Commissioner of Education and that the Commissioner had discussed with him the whole question of do you want to take the appointment pursuant to a letter written in 2007, which may generate unnecessary controversy about your status, or perhaps the easier way to do this is keep that letter in your pocket, but take an appointment using the exact same methodology that we used to appoint Manny Rivera 2 years ago. You may remember that Manny met all the qualifications for superintendent, except he hadn't taken one undergraduate course in special education. And so what we did with Manny was we approved him as acting superintendent pursuant to the statute, subject to his taking that course. Now, in point of fact, Dr. Rivera did not have to take the course because he was later able to show that from his experience as superintendent and managing special education programs, he had more than met the requirements, and so it was ultimately waived and he got his full certification without having to take the course. I suspect the same thing would happen with Dr. Adamowski, but he informed me today that he had talked to the commissioner, and the commissioner had said, look, if you do this, I will certainly approve your appointment as acting superintendent, and then you either take the little course in special ed and pass that, or you waive it, and then I'll issue you your full certification. So in order to avoid any possibility of a question of the legality of the appointment, Dr. Adamowski and the Commissioner of Education suggested that we simply do the same technique that we had used with Manny 2 years ago, so I asked Tom Mooney to draw up a resolution that would function to do that under that statute, and that's why this resolution is before us. Is there discussion on the motion? Ms. Mosby.
Yeah, I understand the motion. My question here tonight is that we had a search firm. We spent a lot of money on a search firm to do a vetting, and this was one of the requirements, was a certification that the applicants had. So my question here tonight is, how did that slip through the crack? How did we did not see this coming in a sense? Because now you're telling me that we have to now put in a motion to, give this, the person where they can go and get themselves certified. When we spent the money for PROACT to go out and do this search, we gave them our criteria, we told them what we were looking for, and they were supposed to bring applicants to us that had met those criteria. And yes, we've had a few applicants that was there, and you know that. And they met the criteria, they met Norwalk's needs, they met everything. And there were some very outstanding ones. So, and of course, we overstepped them, and not knocking this one right here. But the bottom line is that we spent money on PROACT to do their job, to thoroughly vet people and make sure that whoever applied for a position had the certification that was required when they applied for the position.
Any other comments? Ms. Rivas?
Yes, this that you just handed to us is also available in the packet for the public. Do they also have this?
No, I just brought this with me to the meeting. It was sent to me today by Tom Mooney.
Okay, my concerns are also that we did have a search firm, and with all, we had excellent candidates and the finalists and everything, that everyone was very well, and you even complimented us working as a board completely and said that we had great questions and we did a great job, and you said that. Yep. I wanted to mention before I talk about this motion and the contract and the letter is like what the public has stated, that it's an opportunity that we do need the best person. We do need a great superintendent that can move our district forward, but with the community input too. Now, I can relate to special education. I can relate to special education. I don't know if many years ago anyone's aware of it. I am a single parent, always been. And I am a special ed parent, okay? I am a special ed parent, and I still have children in the system. And I know what's required, and I have a lot of concerns. And then these, during the PROACT search with each candidate, there's a section in the process that states, in public domain, are there any positive or negatives for that you need to mention? A lot of this stuff I'm hearing, I never heard when we were doing the interviewing, when we were having the two interviews we had, or nothing came before. All of this information is just popping out. I don't know where. It's just coming out, all of this information. I have a lot of concerns about the article that they were saying that students, special ed students' rights were violated during the tenure in 2009, in June of 2009. And then I said, well, I need to see if I can verify this from somewhere. And then there's actual report. There was an investigation done by the State Department of Education. And within that, in that, it shows you its findings. And yes, Hartford Public Schools was in violations of violating the rights of these 23 special ed students. And the thing is that if there are questions now at the last minute, it's not that I don't want someone that's good, you see, but the whole purpose of being elected on the board is really for us to listen to each other. And you know, respectfully, Mr. Lyons, as chairman of the board, I don't think, you know, to keep the board together is not speaking badly about other board members and say, well, these board members are the bipartisan majority and the other three are whatever. It's like we're being isolated and our voices are not being heard. I bring knowledge and experience from my district, and as a parent of special ed, and going through things in the school district, I can relate and I could bring to the table and say, not micromanage and say, well, you need to go into the school and do this particular thing, but I can make suggestions. Perhaps if maybe they look at this with the children or that with the children. I think that each of us have a right to say, and not for someone to get angry, because we have a right to voice our opinion and agree to disagree, but people really have to mean that. It's not by saying, I can understand diversity. Diversity is a big, broad word. Things like discrimination, that's a big word. You know, people, it has different meanings. That has different meanings. That is, like bullying has been more sophisticated. Discrimination becomes more sophisticated. And I believe we really need to pay attention and be more kind. A lot of the information that you have more information than I do. A lot of the audience has more information than I do. The comments that I should know about. There are reports that appear in the paper before I see them. They're you know, it's like, I just said before, I said we have a quorum when we first came. And I said, yeah, but the meeting's not starting because I don't want it to start. That's what I was told. So it's okay. But the thing is, it doesn't matter what superintendent is here. But we all need to understand that we have a right as human beings to listen to each other. And the respect is listening and taking under consideration what we have to say. And this is a very important decision. Like the special ed parent that came before the microphone that said they want to make sure that their child is going to be educated correctly. Don't you think I want the same? And we spend nights and rests a book this thick to look through and vet through. And then when it comes, I care. And it has nothing to do with the gentleman. It has nothing to do with Dr. Adamowski. It has to do with how the process was done. There is no contract in here that states so the public could view it, so the unions can view it. What it says in our policies, community input is very important. It's very important, and our rights should not be taken away. And I don't apologize, but I need you to understand what I'm really trying to say, and it's important. Like, I need to have more information. I would have wanted to table this decision, perhaps until Thursday or the end of the week. Why? So then the research can be done and clarify, are these allegations true? Did something happen in the special ed ring? What did actually happen? Because I don't want to make a mistake, not with him, but I don't want our system to go down. We have a great school system, I believe, you know. And then when I argue about what and my questions being answered, it's not because I need a word clarified, like cultural is resistance to change. I understand what the word means. But the more clear and specific you are, that's the only way that we could initiate real change. We have to be more clear and more specific as to what our problems are. So I am a little bit upset at the fact, okay, Tom Mooney is the board attorney, fine. Okay, this was given out. If this is given out, I like to have, if the board is looking at something, the public should also be looking at what we're looking at that came from the attorney. Because we are the taxpayers. We are the ones that make the decisions. Every one of you have a right to policy, to your opinion. It's not just us here. So the contract should be in this packet so everyone can see the contract and say, this is what's going to happen. I don't want a sheet of paper that says, this is an agreement and this is what's going to happen. Then we never see the contract again. And then it's a done deal. Then you don't know exactly. I would like more specifics. And, you know, the communication with the board, community relations with the media, in our own policy, it says, the Board of Education shall communicate with the people of Norwalk concerning the objectives, achievements, needs, and conditions of our public school systems by means of locally circulated newspapers, periodicals, and other forms of communication. The superintendent of schools and his designee shall have the authority to issue news releases and via media and citywide. It doesn't say anything that a board chair should put down other board members, and these people are not followers. You know, it's not like I asked to be seated here. It's like it's like we have assigned seating. It's like, and then when someone is the focus, okay, is there a vote? The audience turns this way. Is there a vote? And then, when it's time to look this way, it's a different story. But you see, I want my children to be proud of me so they can follow in my footsteps. And I think what I have to say, I spent a lot of countless hours on this. Even being sick, I still try to find out what is going on with our school district. So don't underestimate someone because you don't know them.
Sure.
Excuse me?
Nothing.
You have the floor, Ms. Rivas.
Okay, anyway, I thank you, Mr. Lyons, for giving me the floor. And I had that build up inside of me because, you know, hearing comments and everything that we have to do the right thing. And I know we have to do the right thing, but my decisions are not based on just myself. My decisions are based on my heart, on what I feel the right thing should be done. And on the paper that was handed out, it should go to everyone. And I understand, but I would have liked to have a contract so we can actually see what we are signing, what we are approving, but we actually don't sign it. It's you that sign as the chairman, respectfully. But, you know, and then with the certification, it would have been like Ms. Mosby had mentioned, that when we did do the interviewing, well, by the way, there's a what do you say, a waiver to the superintendent since 2007, because if a person is interviewing, this is 2015, so wouldn't you think that when you go to the interview, that already we would have known ahead of time? I didn't have to find out from a newspaper or from someone on the street in the community telling me the person is not certified. Then how does that make me look? You see, so it's just a question of, when there is communication on the board, it should be the board as a whole having communications. And I want to be included. I want to work with the board. I really do. But you need to accept and hear my voice, and also accept me and let me know what's going on. Because, you know, right now, I'm playing it by ear. It's like I'm just getting stuff and information now. And thank you for allowing me to speak. Thank you very much.
Any other comments? Ms. Harris?
I just have a quick question. This paper that you just gave us, is this the same as number 3, or are these two totally separate things?
It's the same. Contract of employment is the document it's the term sheet that's included in the packet that went out last week.
So there's going to be one vote. Basically, the vote is number 3, and this is included.
Right. The way that this will work is that we're going to do exactly what we did with Dr. Rivera. The term sheet appoints Dr. Adamowski to the job. Certain portions of it are immediately binding. But as it says, there are also various other things that are going to be negotiated in the final contract. That contract will then come back to the board for approval, exactly as we did with Dr. Rivera's. So what we're approving tonight is the term sheet that's in the packet. Ms. Murray?
Yes, in this motion, upon completion of certification requirements, what time frame are we talking there?
Well, we can put that into the contract. We actually had language specifically addressing that with Dr. Rivera. I think we gave him about 2 months.
What's the requirements? I mean,
The requirement, under the state, he has 1 year to get the acting certificate is good for 1 year. The commissioner said they'll approve that. And by contract with Manny, we required him to get it considerably quicker than that. And we can do the same thing here. Other comments, questions?
I do have one follow-up question.
Yes.
Was there conversation about the time frame?
For him getting that?
Right. Was
No,
there a
that-
conversation?
We had a brief conversation trying to get a sense of how long it would take. My sense is it's probably about 2 months like it was with Manny. That's why we put it in the contract. But we will negotiate language like that in the final contract, and that contract will be brought back to the board, which has to approve it.
Another question?
Yes, Ms. Rivas?
Yes, so the contract will be available to the public? Also,
Yes,
it will be online?
Well, it will go in with the packets, yes.
With the packet, okay. So then you said this term sheet, that's going to be attached to the contract?
No, the term sheet is sort of a temporary contract. That's the thing that's in the packet.
Okay,
It's a two-page document. It makes the appointment as superintendent, and it provides, the base pay and things of that sort. But it also says that among things that we are going to negotiate in the final agreement are annual evaluation, possibility of discretionary performance, as we've talked about, a deferred compensation provision. I've already told Dr. Adamowski that the board wants some kind of a golden handcuff, as we discussed, where there would be deferred compensation, which the superintendent would lose if he did not remain for the whole 3 years. So those provisions will be worked into the final agreement, distributed to the board, and then voted on by the board.
okay, thank you.
It's supposed to be.
So what you're saying is that there's going to end up being 2 votes, one tonight on the term sheet.
Yep.
And then another one later on the contract.
That's correct.
And with that there, we're going to go in, and my concern is that the last time we did a term sheet type of situation, and when we came up for a contract, we had some concerns about what the language and what was in the contract. We were told that every time we turn around and said something that you voted for it, you voted for it. I don't want to hear that. You voted for it. So that's my concern right there, is that we sit here and vote for something tonight, and then turn around and you'll say that, well, if we don't like a certain type of language that's in the contract later, you're going to sit here and say that you voted for it.
Well, I would say, for instance, yes, you voted to appoint him superintendent, but I couldn't say you voted on a specific deferred compensation plan, because it says right in here, we're just going to discuss inclusion of it. So, we're not going to know what that looks like until we negotiate it.
If that was the case, then we could have separated this. It did like 3 appointment of a superintendent, and then 4 the approval of a term sheet. But right now, you have everything lumped together,
Yes, that's correct.
when it could have been separate.
Seemed logical to me to combine it since they're completely interrelated. Any other questions, comments? All right, well, let me make a couple of comments here. First off, I want to thank the board for all the extensive work that was done in this process. We looked at some excellent candidates. I think PROAC brought us a very good group of candidates, who we narrowed down to 7 and then 4, and finally decided that among a very good group, we thought Dr. Adamowski stood out. I did talk to, when this issue of the certification came up, I went back and I looked at the profile that we had approved. The profile says that the candidate must have appropriate certification or equivalent. So in talking to Steve Kupfer at PROACT, he told me that their judgment was that this was the equivalent, that the letter signed by the Commissioner of Education says that the Commissioner may grant a waiver of certification for a person who the Commissioner deems to be exceptionally qualified for the position of superintendent. Therefore, you may serve as superintendent for a Connecticut Public School District without any further authorization or certificate. Signed, Mark McQuillan, Commissioner of Education. So PROACT's view was that, in fact, Dr. Adamowski does have the certification or equivalent, the equivalent being the waiver provided under Public Act 07-241. I agree with them. So did Tom Mooney when I talked to him. I think this waiver is all that we need. The reason why we went to the step of going to the acting was because Dr. Adamowski talked to the commissioner, and they felt that since there is controversy around this letter, even though our legal counsel feels it's perfectly valid, why bring him in under a cloud? There's a mechanism that we can use that simply puts this whole issue aside. It's the exact same mechanism that we used with Dr. Rivera. So the PROACT people felt that this letter was the equivalent of a certification, which is why that they did not raise the issue. They felt that he was qualified to serve. I will say, you know, obviously a lot of things came out, most of them from one gentleman upstate in the last couple of days. I have forwarded to the board multiple responses to that gentleman, some that I had found with my own research and some that Dr. Adamowski had provided. Just as I forwarded to all the members of the board this waiver letter as soon as Dr. Adamowski provided it to me, I have done everything I could throughout the whole process to keep all board members fully advised of every issue that had come before us, both before and after the announcement. You know, we got Mr. Pelto's extensive, virtually unending takes on what happened in Hartford. But today I received a letter from Millie Arseniegas, the PTO executive president of the Hartford Parent Organization Council, which represents a coalition of 45 parent-teacher organizations throughout the Hartford Public Schools. And I also shared this with the board by email. She states, to illustrate Stephen Adamowski's accomplishments during his leadership, I have to take you back to a moment in time when the system wasn't producing great results for our children. The Hartford Public School System was a dysfunctional, low-performing school system. There was no system accountability. Parents had a lack of trust in the system. Parent involvement was at its lowest. When Adamowski came on board, he came in with a strong mission and vision. His mission was to overhaul the entire Hartford Public School System to produce greater student outcomes, and his vision was to create a system of high-performing schools to begin closing the achievement gap. His visionary leadership provided the school system with structure. He focused on priorities such as early literacy, accountability, and high expectations, and implementing an all-choice system of schools. He also took the lead on becoming the first school district in the state to implement school governance councils to include parents in the decision-making process. For the past 5 years, our children have shown significant gains, and everyone is proud of their accomplishments. Because of Adamowski, our children and school system are now on a path to produce extraordinary results. Sincerely, Millie Arseniegas. So I think, you know, in terms of his legal status, as I said, I think the waiver letter is enough. Our legal counsel, Mr. Mooney, thinks it's enough. But to eliminate any concern, Dr. Adamowski and the commissioner suggested that we simply follow the same procedure we did with Manny Rivera. So we don't have to worry about legal interpretations of waiver letters. We can simply move forward in exactly the same way that we did with Manny Rivera, get Dr. Adamowski in here and get him on the job. I am very pleased that he applied for this position. I'm very pleased that he was given serious consideration by all the board members. I again thank the board members for the serious efforts that they put into this. At the meeting where we had the discussion on candidates, very intelligent and impassioned arguments were made on behalf of a couple of candidates, one Dr. Adamowski and another, both of whom were excellent. And I think the board members handled themselves very maturely and intelligently, and we came up with a person that I think is a great choice for this job. So I urge the board to support Dr. Adamowski's appointment. I'm sorry, more? Yes, Ms. Harris.
I just want to state, as someone who listened to the process from the outside last time, and people who were victimized because they voted against, I think what the audience or people don't realize is that there are other candidates. Unfortunately, we can't reveal who they were. So I don't think that anybody should be victimized because they vote for or against someone. I think the bottom line is once someone comes in, is that we work together. But looking from the inside now, I don't think it's fair for people to victimize others because they vote for or against, not knowing who the other candidates are.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Mosby.
I just want to make sure and put on record that some part of the superintendent search vetting process was flawed. That's all I want to put there, because whether PROAC was at fault, whatever, but part of that superintendent search vetting process was flawed. And I want to make sure that is on record.
Ms. Rivas?
I'd like to say thank you to Ms. Harris. It made me feel a lot more better and you know, heart-wise, and I'm glad you made that comment, because there were, it was an excellent interviewing process. You know, there were other candidates, and you know, people should not be victimized. And then the bottom line is, once it's done, it's working together, and everyone listening and listening to what people have to say and not putting anyone down for it. And I think that's the best thing. You need to vote your heart on what you feel on, and like the bottom line is working together and understanding that. I thank you for saying that. It makes it a lot better for me.
Okay, anything else? Ms. Mosby?
And however this vote turns out, in the end, I will work with whoever, if I believe that they are doing what they need to do to make sure that all our children are getting what they need, and that they're reaching out and following these board bylaws and policies that are put in place for us to follow. And I'm willing to do that, whichever way it goes. But I'm not gonna sit here and I'm not going to and rubber stamp or go with the flow because pressure is out there. That is not going to happen. I'm here to do a job, and my job is to make sure that everyone is treated fairly, that everyone has a place at the table, and every voice shall be heard. And I'm gonna continue to do that, so whoever comes in, I will welcome that person as long as they go down that road. But if there's any one child or one person that feels that they are not being respected, then I am gonna have something to say about it.
Thank you. Any other comments? Ms. Murray?
Yes. From our experience in hiring superintendents, and we've been through a few of them, one of the things that is noted that regardless of how you vote, the isolation that's put in place because of that vote is something that this board needs to look at and to re-examine. That's something that we need to look at, take seriously, and understand there is a difference of opinion in the number of areas and levels of this process. But the fact of it is that isolation should not be put in place for any of the board members who are sitting at this table as we continue the process and continue to work for the betterment of the Norwalk Public School System.
Thank you. Mr. Barbas?
That's all fine and well, but I think you have to remember, there are 9 people on this board, and to get something passed, you need 5 votes. And, you know, people can talk, people can reach across the aisle. You can give that smirk, Shirley, and drop it from your face.
Okay, keep calm.
But the fact is, if you can't get 5 votes, it's not going to get passed. So do the math.
I'm gonna be the better person here tonight, Mike.
Oh,
Ms. Rivas?
drop it.
Okay, you see,
Ms. Rivas has the floor.
well, thank you again for the floor. Okay.
All yours.
Okay, you see, this is the thing, this is the thing, what I'm saying is, it's not only about getting, it is about, at the end, is getting the votes, and whoever takes it, that's what it is. But the whole thing is like, a lot of times, Mr. Lyons has said, you know, you need to convince the other person, you know, why see it your way, or how to go along your way, and then that explanation, it has to be respected, and either, but it's the listening part, because we're all passionate, but we have to restrain our anger, and it's not like you go to and say, okay, we need to be civil, we need to be civilized. What exactly does that mean? I mean, if you're civil in public is one thing, but you gotta have that civility behind closed doors. You gotta have that civility in the newspaper as well, in the media. You have to have that. And people really need to understand that this is a very difficult job. This is a very difficult job. You have the life of children in your hands, on their future. And you really cannot be selfish and think of yourself. So you need to really listen. And like I said, and like it was said before, you can agree to disagree. But at the end game, we still have to be spoken to. We need to communicate with each other. If someone's mad because someone didn't vote a certain way, that stops progress. Okay, you're angry because it didn't go your way, all right? But then you get over that. That's when you argue in your family. You get over that. But you still have to live together. We still have to work together. But you can't force someone to be silent. And everyone has a right to speak regardless of what's being said to you. Because then what's life all about? With every one of us has those things to deal with. And you know, we just gotta learn to control ourselves and be kind and not hurt each other. We each have our own things. So, okay, so thank you, and I hope I didn't make any matters worse here, but I just know that that's the whole thing. We need to continue to listen, and part of the board professional development has to be, if we have to lock the doors behind us and talk in here, and talk to each other until we're blue in the face, until we're able to speak to ourselves in a decent way, until we're able to get our point across, because we have a perception. You know, the public needs to be confident in our decisions and what we're talking about. And, you know, that's it. That's what I had to say as well. I hope no one's angry, but,
Mr. Kasimis?
I'm not angry.
oh, good, good.
We've been at this since, I think, the end of January. We've been meeting together constantly. We've seen a lot of each other. The past couple of weeks, we've been to dinners and award ceremonies, retirement banquets, things like that. I am very confident in my vote tonight, but I will say this. On Friday, was it June the 19th, is my 27th wedding anniversary, and I am getting on a plane at 7 a.m. with my wife, and we're going to the Caribbean. So I said that to lighten things up a little bit. Hopefully we won't be here till then, because I do want to make a point. So my point is, can we vote? Thank you very much.
Okay, Paul.
All right, anything else? No? Okay, all right,
Joy,
so
congratulations.
we'll proceed to a vote. All in favor of the appointment of Dr. Adamowski, please indicate. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All opposed? 1, 2, 3, 4. Motion has 5 votes in favor, 4 votes opposed. Dr. Adamowski is approved. Dr. Adamowski is here. I thought perhaps you might want to come up and say hello.
So I guess I want to thank the members of the public who have reached out to me this evening and over the past several days. I want to thank the board for their support and belief in me. It energizes me and motivates me to do my best work. After the past 4 years in state service as a special master, I am very glad to be a school superintendent again. They are 2 different roles. One is a leadership role and highly collaborative. One is prescriptive, and it's intervention and kind of the last chance to get things back on track. I feel privileged that I will be able to work with all 9 members of the board in a community I aspire to be a permanent part of. The process of school improvement and closing the achievement gap relies on having schools that are robust enough, unique enough, exciting enough to attract families, motivate students, and meet the diverse needs of a full range of students. In that sense, every child in Norwalk is a special child. We only move forward with this when we have a system in which every child is able to read on grade level, develop their strengths, and graduate from high school, college, and career ready. And every school is considered a good school by the parents that it serves, the families that it serves. The quality of school leadership and the development of our teaching, empowerment and development of our teaching staff are the 2 most important factors that enable the success of any reform strategy, any set of policies, anything that we may put in place or do to provide direction to the system. The strategic operating plan needs to be a living document that you own as a board and I and our staff implement. It must be inspired by vision, driven by data, and supported by our stakeholders. My best hope tonight, as I plan to join you, is that the compelling nature of our work on behalf of all students and the prospect of the opportunities we can provide the children of Norwalk in this wonderful city will inspire and elevate adult discourse and provide the basis for unity and renewed commitment of all Norwalk's stakeholders. Thank you, and I look forward to working with you.